Let's liberation of religion. I feel was written in God's word to help everyone. You stay on. My teacher, my famished heart is eager. Our reason for freedom is it's inspiring for the real life world. So give it up, change my mind to better suit your rules. But it's still true. It's just like it's the same as any question on a test from the other world. You got to find solutions that can be absolute. Yeah, live in the dark and stare, or else go get up.
Welcome to Talking Truth Ministries, where our mission is to share the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Our vision is to lead someone to the epitome of truth, Jesus Christ, who is the way, the truth, and the life. And he said that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And that's what it's all about, being free from the forces in this world that would lie, deceive, and ultimately try to deceive each and every one of us.
Real life world, so give it up, change my mind to better suit your rules. But it's still true. It's just like we don't show that no one is you. It's the same as any question on a test from the other world. You got it by yourself and you can be going to, yeah, live in the dark and stay or else won't get up.
Hello, welcome back. Tonight is our Flat Friday, and I'm trying to work on an intro that'll work. Now, the last couple times the audio has not been good at all, so it's a work in progress. Hopefully I can figure this out. I want this to be an interesting experience for whoever's following along. So I'm going to pick up on the 200 flat earth clues, and I'm going to pick up on, I don't remember where I left off. I thought I stopped at clue 100. So I'm going to start at clue 101, and we'll go from there. And I don't know if I've really said this a lot. Don't just believe anything I say on here. If you have questions, I encourage you to research this topic. There's tons of resources out there. NASA is not to be trusted. They lie about everything. And we know our government and our scientists, they never lie, right? You can say that with a straight face. Is everyone in on it? No. A lot of people just don't know. They don't research. They just repeat what they've been told. And, teachers just read their, teach out of their textbooks. Very few teachers have ever actually gone and researched to see if what they're teaching is true. Unfortunately, our school systems are a mess now. So anyway, so back to 200 clues that the Earth is not a ball, basically. Clue 101, Sigma Octantis is claimed to be a southern central pole star similar to Polaris, around which the southern hemisphere stars all rotate around the opposite direction. Unlike Polaris, however, Sigma Octantis cannot be seen simultaneously from every point along the same latitude. It is not central, but allegedly off 1 degree off center. It is not motionless and in fact cannot be seen at all using publicly available telescopes. There is legitimate speculation regarding whether Sigma Octantis even exists. Either way, the direction in which the stars move overhead is based on perspective and the exact direction you're facing, not which hemisphere you are in. Number 102. Some heliocentrists, that means the sun's in the middle. For everything, helios is I believe the Greek word for the sun, have tried to suggest that the pole star's gradual declination overhead as an observer travels southward is proof of a globular Earth. Far from it. The declination of the pole star or any other object is simply a result of the law of perspective on plane, flat surfaces. The law of perspective dictates that the angle and height at which an object is seen diminishes the farther one recedes from the object until at a certain point that the line of sight and the seemingly uprising surface of the Earth converges to a vanishing point, i.e., the horizon line, beyond which the object is invisible. In the ball Earth model, the horizon is claimed to be the curvature of the Earth, whereas in reality, the horizon is known to be simply the vanishing line of perspective based on the strength of your eyes, instruments, weather, and altitude. Number 103. There are several constellations which can be seen from far greater distances over the face of the Earth than should be possible if the Earth were a rotating, revolving, wobbling ball. For instance, Ursa Major, very close to Polaris, can be seen from 90 degrees north latitude, the North Pole, all the way down to 30 degrees south latitude. For this to be possible on a ball Earth, the southern observers would have to be seeing through hundreds or thousands of miles of bulging Earth to the northern sky. Number 104. The constellation Vulpecula, or Vulpecula, however you say that, can be seen from 90 degrees north latitude all the way to 55 degrees south latitude. Taurus, Pisces, and Leo can be seen from 90 degrees north all the way to 65 degrees south. An observer on a ball Earth, regardless of any tilt or inclination, should not logically be able to see this far. Number 105. Aquarius and Libra can be seen from 65 degrees north to 90 degrees south. The constellation Virgo is visible from 80 degrees north down to 80 degrees south, and Orion can be seen from 85 degrees north all the way to 75 degrees south latitude. These are all only possible because the hemispheres are not spheres at all, but concentric circles of latitude extending outwards from the central North Pole, with the stars rotating over and around. Number 106. The so-called South Pole, in quotation marks, is simply an arbitrary point along the Antarctic ice marked with a red and white barbershop pole topped with a metal ball, Earth. This ceremonial South Pole is admittedly and provably not the actual South Pole. However, because the actual South Pole could be demonstrably confirmed with the aid of a compass showing north to be 360 degrees around the observer. Since this feat has never been achieved, the model remains pure theory, along with the establishment's excuse that the geomagnetic poles supposedly constantly move around, making verification of their claims impossible. 107. Ring magnets of the kind found in loudspeakers have a central North Pole, with the opposite South Pole actually being all points along the outer circumference. This perfectly demonstrates the magnetism of our flat Earth, whereas the alleged source of magnetism in the ball Earth model is emitted from a hypothetical molten magnetic core in the center of the ball, which they claim conveniently causes both poles to constantly move, thus evading independent verification at their two ceremonial poles. In reality, the deepest drilling operation in history, the Russian Kola Ultra Deep, managed to only get not even 8 miles, 7.8 miles down. So the entire ball earth model taught in schools showing a crust, outer mantle, inner mantle, outer core, and inner core layers are all purely speculation, as we have never penetrated through beyond the crust. 108. The mariner's compass is an impossible and nonsensical instrument for use on a ball earth. It simultaneously points north and south over a flat surface, yet claims to be pinpointing two constantly moving geomagnetic poles at opposite ends of a spinning sphere originating from a hypothetical molten metal core. If compass needles were actually drawn to the North Pole of a globe, the opposing south needle would actually be pointing up and off into outer space. Number 109. There are no fixed east or west points, just as there is no fixed south. The North Pole, the North Central Pole is the only proven fixed point on our flat Earth, with south being all straight lines outwards from the pole. East and west. East and west being concentric circles at constant right angles, 90 degrees from the pole. A westerly circumnavigation of Earth is thus going around with Polaris continually on your right, while an easterly circumnavigation is going around with Polaris always on your left. 110. Magellan and others' east-west circumnavigation of Earth are often quoted as proof of the ball model. In actual fact, however, sailing or flying at right angles to the North Pole and eventually returning to one's original location is no more difficult or mysterious than doing so on a globe. Just as an architect's compass can place its center point on a flat sheet of paper and trace a circle either way around the pole, so can a ship or plane circumnavigate a flat Earth. 111. Since the North Pole and Antarctica are covered in ice and guarded no-fly zones, no ships or planes have ever been known to circumnavigate the Earth in a north-south direction. The only kind of circumnavigation which could not happen on a flat Earth is north-southbound, which is likely the very reason for the heavily enforced flight restrictions. The fact that there has yet to be a single verified north-south circumnavigation of Earth serves as standing proof the world is not a ball. 112. The sun brings noon to every time zone as it passes directly overhead every 15-degree demarcation point, 24 times per day in its circular path over and around the Earth. If time zones were instead caused by the uniform spinning of the ball Earth around the sun every 6 months as Earth found itself on the opposite side of the sun, clocks all over the Earth would have to flip 12 hours. Day would be night and night would be day. 113. The idea that people are standing, ships are sailing, and planes are flying upside down on certain parts of Earth while others tilted at 90 degrees and all other impossible angles is complete absurdity. The idea that a man digging a hole straight down could eventually reach sky on the other side is ludicrous. Common sense tells every free-thinking person correctly that there is an up and down in nature, unlike the everything is relative rhetoric of the Newtonian Einsteinian paradigm. 114. Quoting on the false wisdom of the philosophers by Lactantius, A sphere where people on the other side live with their feet above their heads, where rain, snow, and hail fall upwards, where trees and crops grow upside down and the sky is lower than the ground. The ancient wonder of the hanging gardens of Babylon dwindle into nothing in comparison to the fields, seas, towns, and mountains that pagan philosophers believed to be hanging from the earth without support. 115. The existing laws of density and buoyancy perfectly explain the physics of falling objects long before knighted Freemason Sir Isaac Newton bestowed his theory of gravity upon the world. It is a fact that objects placed in denser mediums rise up while objects placed in less dense mediums sink down. To fit with the heliocentric model, which has no up or down, Newton instead claimed objects are attracted to large masses and fall towards the center. Not a single experiment in history, however, has shown an object massive enough to, by virtue of its mass alone, cause other smaller masses to be attracted to it, as Newton claims. Newton claims gravity does with Earth, the sun, moon, stars, and planets. 116. There has also never been a single experiment in history showing an object mass enough to, by virtue of its mass alone, cause another smaller mass to orbit around it. The magic theory of gravity allows for oceans, buildings, and people to remain forever stuck to the underside of a spinning ball, while simultaneously causing objects like the moon and satellites to remain locked in perpetual circular orbits around the Earth. If these were both true, then people should be able to jump up and start orbiting circles around the Earth, or the moon should have long ago been sucked into the Earth. Neither of these theories have ever been experimentally verified, and their alleged results are mutually exclusive. 117. Newton also theorized, and it is now commonly taught, that the Earth's ocean tides are caused by gravitational lunar attraction. If the moon is only 2,160 miles in diameter and the Earth 8,000 miles, however, using their own math and law, it follows that the Earth is 87 times more massive, and therefore the larger object should attract the smaller to it, and not the other way around. If the Earth's greater gravity is what keeps the moon in orbit, it is impossible for the moon's lesser gravity to supersede the Earth's gravity, especially at Earth's sea level, where its gravitational attraction would even further out-trump the moon's. And if the moon's gravity truly did supersede the Earth's, causing the tides to be drawn towards it, there should be nothing to stop from continuing upwards and onwards and upwards towards their greater attractor. 118. Furthermore, the velocity and path of the moon are uniform and should therefore expect a uniform influence on the Earth's tides, when in actuality the Earth's tides vary greatly and do not follow the moon. Earth's lakes, ponds, marshes, and other inland bodies of water also inexplicably remain forever outside the moon's gravitational grasp. If gravity was truly drawing Earth's oceans up to it, all lakes, ponds, and other bodies of standing water should certainly have tides as well. 119. It is claimed that the other planets are spheres, and so therefore Earth must also be a sphere. Firstly, Earth is a plane, not a planet, so the shape of these planets in the sky have no bearing on the shape of the Earth beneath our feet. Secondly, these planets have been known for thousands of years around the world as wandering stars, since they differ from the other fixed stars in their relative motions only. When looked at with an unprejudiced naked eye or through a telescope, the fixed and wandering stars appear as luminous disks of light, not spherical terra firma. The pictures and videos shown by NASA of spherical terra firma planets are all clearly fake, computer-generated images and not photographs. 120. The etymology of the word planet actually comes from the late Old English planete, from Old French planete, modern French, and I don't know how to say it in French. Planete, maybe from Latin planeta, from Greek planetes, from asteres planetae, wandering stars, from planethae, to wander, of unknown origin, possibly from P-I-E, pele, flat, to spread out, or notion of spread out, and plane, flat surface, circa 1600, from Latin planum, flat surface, plane, level, plane, planus, flat, level, even, plane, clear. They just added a T to our earth plane and everyone bought it. When you observe the sun and moon, you see two equally sized, equidistant circles tracing similar paths at similar speeds around a flat, stationary Earth. The experts at NASA, however, claim your common sense everyday experience is false on all counts. To begin with, they say the Earth is not flat, but a big ball, not stationary, but spinning around 19 miles per second. They say the sun does not revolve around the Earth as it appears, but Earth revolves around the sun. The moon, on the other hand, does revolve around the Earth, though not east to west as it appears, rather west to east, and the sun is actually 400 times larger than the moon and 400 times farther away. You can clearly see they are the same size and distance. You can see the Earth is flat. You can feel the Earth is stationary. But according to the gospel of modern astronomy, you are wrong and a simpleton, worthy of endless ridicule if you dare to trust your own eyes and experience. My goodness. 122. Quoting Alan Davis, if the government or NASA had said to you that the Earth is stationary, imagine that. And then imagine we are trying to convince people that no, it's not stationary. It's moving forward at 32 times rifle bullet speed and spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. We will be laughed at. We would have so many people telling us, you are crazy. The Earth is not moving. We would be ridiculed for having no scientific backing for this convoluted moving Earth theory. And not only that, but then people would say, oh, then how do you explain a fixed, calm atmosphere and the sun's observable movement? How do you explain that? Imagine saying to people, no, the atmosphere is moving also, but is somehow magically Velcroed to the moving Earth. The reason is not simply because the Earth is stationary. So what we are actually doing is what makes sense. We are saying that the moving Earth theory is nonsense. Stationary Earth theory makes sense, and we are being ridiculed. You've got to picture it being the other way around to realize just how ridiculous the situation is. This theory from the government and NASA that the Earth is rotating and orbiting and leaning over and wobbling is absolute nonsense, and yet people are clinging to it tightly like a teddy bear. They just can't bring themselves to face the possibility that the Earth is stationary, though all the evidence shows it. We feel no movement. The atmosphere hasn't been blown away. We see the sun move from east to west. Everything can be explained by a motionless Earth without bringing in all these assumptions to cover up previous assumptions gone bad. 123. Heliocentrist astronomical figures always sound perfectly precise, but they have historically been notorious for regularly and drastically changing them to suit their various models. For instance, in his time, Copernicus calculated the sun's distance from Earth to be 3,391,200 miles. The next century, Johann Kepler decided it was actually 12,376,800 miles away. Isaac Newton once said, it matters not whether we reckon it 28 or 54 million miles distant, for either would do just as well. How scientific. Benjamin Martin calculated between 81 and 82 million miles. Thomas Dillsworth claimed 93,726,900 miles. John Hind stated positively 95,298,260 miles. Benjamin Gould said more than 96 million miles, and Christian Mayer thought it was more than 104 million. Flat earthers throughout the ages, conversely, have used sextants and plane trigonometry to make such calculations and found the sun and moon to be only about 32 miles in diameter and less than a few thousand miles from Earth. (124) Amateur balloon footage taken above the clouds has provided stunning visual proof that the sun cannot be millions of miles away. In several shots, you can see a clear hot spot reflecting on the clouds directly below the sun's spotlight-like influence. If the sun were actually millions of miles away, such a small localized hotspot could not occur. 125. Another proof the sun is not millions of miles away is found by tracing the angle of sun rays back to their source above the clouds. There are thousands of these pictures showing how sunlight comes down through clouds cover at a variance of converging angles. The area of convergence is, of course, the sun, and is clearly not millions of miles away, but rather relatively close to Earth, just above the clouds. The sun's annual journey from tropic to tropic, solstice to solstice, is what determines the length and character of days, nights, and seasons. This is why equatorial regions experience almost year-round summer and heat, while higher latitudes north and especially south experience more distant seasons with harsh winters. The heliocentric model claims seasons change based on the ball Earth's alleged axial tilt and elliptical orbit around the sun. Yet their flawed current model places us closest to the sun 91,400,000 miles in January when it's actually winter, and farthest from the sun 94,500,000 miles in July when it's actually summer throughout most of the Earth. 127. The fact that the sun and moon's reflection on water always form a straight line from the horizon to the observer proves the Earth is not a ball. If Earth's surface was curved, it would be impossible for the reflected light to curve over the ball from horizon to observer. 128. There are huge, centuries-old stone sundials and moon dials all over the world, which still tell the time now down to the minute as perfectly as the day they were made. If the Earth, sun, and moon were truly subject to the number of contradictory, revolving, rotating, wobbling, and spiraling motions claimed by modern astronomy, it would be impossible for these monuments to so accurately tell time without constant adjustment. Ooh, 129 is a long, oh my. Oh no, it's not. Let me go. Two long ones here. 129. To quote William Carpenter, why, in the name of common sense, should observers have to fix their telescopes on solid stone bases so that they should not move a hair's breadth? If the Earth on which they fix them moves at the rate of 19 miles in a second, indeed, to believe that 6,000 million tons is rolling, surging, flying, darting on through space forever, with a velocity compared with which a shot from a cannon is a very slow coach, with some unerring accuracy that a telescope fixed on granite pillars in an observatory will not enable a lynx-eyed astronomer to detect a variation in its own onward motion of the thousandth part of a hair's breadth is to conceive a miracle compared with which all the miracles on record put together would sink into utter insignificance. Since we can, in middle north latitudes, see the North Star on looking out of a window that faces it and out of the same corner of the very same pane of glass in the very same window all the year round. It is proof enough for any man in his common senses that we have no motion at all, and we have made no motion at all, and that the earth is not a globe. Number 130 from Earth Not a Globe by Samuel Rowbotham. Take 2 careful bored metallic tubes, not less than 6 feet in length, and place them 1 yard asunder on the opposite sides of a wooden frame or a solid block of wood or stone. So adjust them that their centers or axes of vision shall be perfectly parallel to each other. Now, direct them to the plane of some notable fixed star a few seconds previous to its meridian time. Let an observer be stationed at each tube, and the moment the star appears in the first tube, let a loud knock or other signal be given, to be repeated by the observer at the second tube when he sees the same star. A distinct period of time will elapse between the signals given. The signals will follow each other in very rapid succession, but still the time between is sufficient to show that the same star is not visible at the same moment by 2 parallel lines of sight when only 1 yard asunder. A slight inclination of the second tube towards the first tube would be required for the star to be seen through both tubes at the same instant. Let the tubes remain in their position for 6 months, at the end of which time the same observation or experiment will produce the same results. The star will be visible at the same meridian time without the slightest alteration being required in the direction of the tubes, from which it is concluded that if the Earth had moved 1 single yard in an orbit through space, there would be at least be observed the slight inclination of the tube, which the difference in position of 1 yard had previously required. But as no such difference in the direction of the tube is required, the conclusion is unavoidable that in 6 months a given meridian upon the Earth's surface does not move a single yard, and therefore the Earth has not the slightest degree of orbital motion. That was a long one. I hope you understood it. I might have to try that experiment sometime. Interesting. All right. Here. 131. NASA and modern astronomy maintain that the moon is a solid, spherical, Earth-like habitation which man has actually flown to and set foot on. They claim the moon is a non-luminescent planetoid which receives and reflects all its light from the sun. The reality is, however, that the moon is observably not a solid body. It is clearly circular, but not spherical, and not in any way an Earth-like planetoid which humans could set a foot on. In fact, the moon has been proven largely transparent and completely self-luminescent, shining with its own unique light. 132. The sun's light is golden, warm, drying, preservative, and antiseptic, while the moon's light is silver, cool, damp, putrefying, and septic. The sun's rays decrease the combustion of a bonfire, while the moon's rays increase combustion. Plant and animal substances exposed to sunlight quickly dry, shrink, coagulate, and lose the tendency to decompose and putrefy. Grapes and other fruits become solid, partially candied, and preserved like raisins, dates, and prunes. Animal flesh coagulates, loses its volatile gaseous constituents, becomes fur, dry, and slow to decay. When exposed to moonlight, however, plant and animal substances tend to show symptoms of putrefaction and decay. This proves that the sun and moon light are different, unique, and opposites as they are in the geocentric flat model. 133. In direct sunlight, a thermometer will read higher than another thermometer placed in the shade. But in full direct moonlight, a thermometer will read lower than another placed in the shade. If the sun's light is collected in a large lens and thrown to a focus point, it can create a significant heat, while the moon's light collected similarly creates no heat. In the Lancet Medical Journal from March 14th, 1856, particulars are given of several experiments which proved the moon's rays, when concentrated, can actually reduce the temperature upon a thermometer more than 8 degrees. So sunlight and moonlight clearly have altogether different properties. That's an interesting one. I have to try that. All right, 134. Furthermore, the moon itself cannot physically be both a spherical body and a reflector of the sun's light. Reflectors must be flat or concave for light rays to have any angle of incidence. If a reflector's surface is convex, then every ray of light points in a direct line with the radius perpendicular to the surface, resulting in no reflection, which means it's going to spread out instead of focus. 135. Not only is the moon clearly self-luminescent, shining its own unique light, but it is also largely transparent. When the waxing or waning moon is visible during the day, it is possible to see the blue sky right through the moon. And on a clear night during a waxing or waning cycle, it is even possible to occasionally see stars and planets directly through the surface of the moon. The Royal Astronomical Society, The Royal Astronomical Society has on record many such occurrences throughout history, which all defy the heliocentric model. 136. Many people think that modern astronomy's ability to accurately predict lunar and solar eclipses is a result and proof positive of the heliocentric theory of the universe. The fact of the matter, however, is that eclipses have been accurately predicted by cultures worldwide for thousands of years before the heliocentric ball Earth was even a glimmer in Copernicus's imagination. Ptolemy, in the 1st century AD, accurately predicted eclipses for 600 years on the basis of a flat, stationary Earth with equal precision as anyone living today. All the way back in 600 BC, Thales accurately predicted an eclipse which ended the war between the Medes and the Lydians. Eclipses happen regularly with precision in 18-year cycles. So regardless of geocentric or heliocentric, flat or globe Earth cosmologies, eclipses can accurately Eclipses can be accurately calculated independent of such factors. 137. Another assumption and supposed proof of Earth's shape, heliocentrists claim that lunar eclipses are caused by the shadow of the ball Earth occulting the moon. They claim the sun, Earth, and moon spheres perfectly align like 3 billiard balls in a row, so that the sun's light casts the Earth's shadow onto the moon. Unfortunately for heliocentrists, this explanation is rendered completely invalid due to the fact that lunar eclipses have happened and continue to happen regularly when both the sun and moon are still visible above the horizon. I think this is the Salenilian eclipse or the impossible eclipse. For the sun's light to be casting Earth's shadow onto the moon, the 3 bodies must be aligned in a straight 100-degree syzygy. But as early as the time of Pliny, there are records of lunar eclipses happening while both the sun and moon are visible in the sky. Therefore, the eclipsor of the moon cannot be the Earth's shadow, and some other explanation must be sought. 138. Another favorite proof of ball earthers is the appearance from an observer on shore of ships' hulls being. Let me start that again. Another favorite proof of ball earthers is the appearance from an observer on shore of ships' hulls being obfuscated by the water and disappearing from view when sailing towards the horizon. Their claim is that ships' hulls disappear before their mast heads because the ship is beginning its declination around the convex curvature of the ball Earth. Once again, however, their hasty conclusion is drawn from a faulty premise, namely that only on a ball Earth could this phenomenon occur. The fact of the matter is that the law of perspective on plane surfaces dictates and necessitates the exact same occurrence. For example, a girl wearing a dress walking towards the horizon will appear to shrink into the earth the farther away she walks. Her feet will disappear from view first, and the distance between the ground and the bottom of her dress will gradually diminish till after about half a mile it seems like her dress is touching the ground as she walks on invisible legs. Such is the case on plane surfaces. The lowest parts of objects receding from a given point of observation necessarily disappear before the highest. Ooh, a lot of words, a lot of multi-syllable words. Okay, I gotta move me. Not only is the disappearance of a ship's hull explained by the law of perspective on flat surfaces, it is proven undeniably true with the aid of a good telescope. If you watch a ship sailing away into the horizon with the naked eye until its hull has completely disappeared from view under the supposed curvature of the earth, and look through a telescope, you will notice that the entire ship quickly zooms back into view, hull and all. A Nikon P1000 or P900 camera are great for this also. But it'll quickly zoom back into view, hull and all, proving that the disappearance was caused by the law of perspective, not by a wall of curved water. This also proves that the horizon is simply the vanishing line of perspective from your point of view, not the alleged curvature of the earth. I think I'm going to only do 50 because I'm thinking I only did 50 before I skipped some. Foucault's pendulums are often quoted as proof of a rotating earth, but upon closer investigation prove the opposite. To begin with, Foucault's pendulums do not uniformly swing in any one direction. Sometimes they rotate clockwise and sometimes counterclockwise. Sometimes they fail to rotate and sometimes they rotate far too much. The behavior of the pendulum actually depends on 1, the initial force beginning its swing, and 2, the ball and socket joint used, which most readily facilitates circular motion over any other. The supposed rotation of the earth is completely inconsequential and irrelevant to the pendulum's swing. If the alleged constant rotation of the earth affected pendulums in any way, then there should be no need to manually start pendulums in motion. If the earth's diurnal rotation caused the 360-degree uniform diurnal rotation of pendulums, then there should not exist a stationary pendulum anywhere on Earth. 141. The Coriolis effect is often said to cause sinks and toilet bowls in the northern hemisphere to strain, spinning in one direction, while in the southern hemisphere causing them to spin the opposite way, thus providing proof of the spinning ball Earth. Once again, however, just like Foucault's pendulums, spinning either way, which way, sinks and toilets in the northern and southern hemispheres do not constantly or consistently spin in any one direction. Sinks and toilet in the very same households are often found to spin opposite directions, depending entirely upon the shape of the basin and the angle of the water's entry, not the supposed rotation of the earth. 142. People claim that if the earth was flat, they should be able to use a telescope and see clear across the oceans. This is absurd, however, as the air is full of precipitation, especially over the oceans, and especially at the lowest, densest layer of atmosphere is not transparent. Picture the blurry haze over roads on hot, humid days. Even the best telescopes will not blur out long before will blur out long before you can see across an ocean. You can, however, use a telescope to zoom in much more of our flat Earth than would be possible on a ball 25,000 miles in circumference. I need a drink. (143) People claim that if the Earth were flat, with the sun circling overhead and around us, we should be able to see the sun from everywhere all over the Earth, and there should be daylight even at nighttime. Since the sun is not 93 million miles away, but rather just a few thousand, and shining down like a spotlight, once it has moved significantly far enough away from your location, it becomes invisible beyond the horizon, and daylight slowly fades until it completely disappears. If the sun were 93 million miles away and the Earth a spinning ball, the transition from daylight to night would instead be almost instantaneous as you pass the terminator line. 144. Pictures of the moon appearing upside down in the southern hemisphere and right side up in the north are often cited as proof of the ball Earth, but once again, upon closer inspection, provide another proof of the flat model. In fact, time-lapse photography shows the moon itself turns clockwise like a wheel as it circles over and around the Earth. You can find pictures of the moon at 360 degrees of various inclination from all over the Earth, simply depending on where and when the picture was taken. 145. Heliocentrists believe the moon is a ball, even though its appearance is clearly that of a flat, luminous disk. We only ever see the same one face, albeit at various inclinations of the moon. Yet it is claimed that there is another dark side of the moon which remains hidden. NASA states the moon spins opposite the spin of the Earth in such a perfectly synchronized way that the motions cancel each other out, so we will conveniently never be able to observe the supposed dark side of the moon outside of their terrible fake CGI images. The fact of the matter is, however, if the moon were a sphere, observers in Antarctica would see a different face from those at the equator, yet they do not. Just the same flat face rotated at various degrees. 146. The ball Earth model claims that the moon orbits around the Earth once every 28 days. Yet it is plain for anyone to see that the moon orbits around the Earth every single day. The moon's orbit is slightly slower than the sun's, but follows the sun's same exact path from tropic to tropic, solstice to solstice, making a full circle over the Earth in just under 25 hours. 147. The ball Earth model claims the sun is precisely 400 times larger than the moon and 400 times further away from Earth, making them falsely appear exactly the same size. Once again, the ball model asks us to accept as coincidence something that cannot be explained other than by natural design. The sun and the moon occupy the same amount of space in the sky and have been measured with sextants to be of equal size and equal distance. So claiming otherwise is against our eyes, experiments, and common sense. 148. Quoting Earth Not a Globe by Samuel Rowbotham. It is found by observation that the stars come to the meridian about 4 minutes earlier every 24 hours than the sun, taking the solar time as the standard. This makes 120 minutes every 30 days and 24 hours of the year. Hence, all the constellations have passed before or in advance of the sun in that time. This is the simple fact as observed in nature, but the theory of rotundity and motion on axes and in an orbit has no place for it. Visible truth must be ignored because this theory stands in the way and prevents its votaries from understanding it. 149. Throughout thousands of years, the same constellations have remained fixed in their same patterns without moving out of a position whatever. Okay, let me read that sentence again. Throughout thousands of years, the same constellations have remained fixed in their same patterns without moving out of position whatsoever. If the Earth were a big ball spinning around a bigger sun, spinning around a bigger galaxy, shooting off from the biggest bang, as NASA claims, it is impossible that the constellations would remain so fixed. Based on their model, we should in fact have an entirely different night sky every single night and never repeat exactly the same star pattern twice. And number 50, I'm going to stop at 150. If the Earth were a spinning ball, it would be impossible to photograph star trail time lapses turning perfect circles around Polaris anywhere but the North Pole. At all other vantage points, the stars would seem to travel more or less horizontally across the observer's horizon due to the alleged 1,000 miles per hour motion between their feet. In reality, however, Polaris's surrounding stars can be always photographed turning circles around the central star all the way down to the Tropic of Capricorn. So I'm going to stop there. I have to review my last program when I did this. I think I only did 50. I'm not going to do 100 of these tonight. Take me forever. I will pick this up and finish them off next week. Thanks for watching. Research flat Earth. Don't just believe me. Don't just believe scientism, I should say. There's experiments. There's videos of people doing experiments. If you look at them, I suggest you look up the Flat Earth Sun Moon Zodiac Clock app by David Weiss on the YouTube, or the not the YouTube, the website Flat Earth Dave. He's got thousands of videos of experiments that have done by lots of people, and so you don't just have to take my word for it, or the word of anybody. You don't have to, but look at the experiments. They don't lie. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Please share the channel. Like, and check out my other stuff too. Thank you. God bless and have a good night.